Before this video begins, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And also, check out the affiliate links down in the description below to get discounts on car mods and products. Okay, let's get into the review. Hello and welcome. Today we are inside of a 1987 Toyota Supra. This is a non-turbo version. I would like to thank Soda Motors and Newport Speed Shop in Newport, Rhode Island for allowing me to review this vehicle. Their link is in the description below. This 1987 Supra is finished in white, and this is a completely stock car besides aftermarket wheels. This is the non-turbo variant, and this is a coupe. It did also come in a Targa Top variant. This is a two-seat roadster, weighing in at about 3,400 pounds. This currently is for sale for about $15,000. This is powered by the 7M GE engine, a 3-liter naturally aspirated inline 6, producing about 200 horsepower. This is a jump from 160 horsepower in the previous gen, the Mark II. This is the Mark III. This is mated with a 5-speed manual transmission and is rear-wheel drive. This current car has about 179,000 miles on it.
This rides on some 16-inch wheels, which are from the period, and they are engraved.
On the exterior, this is the 3rd gen Mark III, or the A70 car. So 1987 was the first year that a turbo Supra was offered, producing 230 horsepower in this year. So this is more of a foundational car. It started what a lot of the Supra tendencies became. This has a double wishbone suspension, and it has a pretty nice wedge-like style. I think it looks kind of like a Grand Tourer. It's sporty, but it's not like a full-on sports car. It sits pretty low and wide, it has some sharp angles, and it has a mean face. It does also have the pop-up headlights. One of the competitors at this time, the Mustang GT, made 225 horsepower, but was less expensive. So this was never a direct pony car competitor. On the outside of this, you do get the pop-up headlights in the front. Those are, of course, halogens. You get your blinker indicators, and you get some fog lights down below. A license plate would sit there if needed, and unfortunately, this car is missing a front emblem. This looks similar in the front to how a C4 Corvette came to be styled, with a very nice wedge-like shape, but this is obviously a bit shorter, and it seems to ride a bit higher than that as well. And these are the aftermarket wheels, but they're appropriate. They look pretty good. This does have 235 tires riding on 18-inch wheels, aftermarket. They came with 16s from the factory. You have a nice plastic trim piece here down the stripe, but it looks pretty cool. It looks like a wood grain type of thing. For your handles, they're the old style with, of course, no key fob here. You have to lock and unlock it with a key. Here is your fuel door. It is actually always unlocked, and then you get your typical fuel cap in there. You have your antenna spot right here, and you get a bit of tint on this specific car on the rear window. You also get a rear wiper, which is an interesting and nice little touch. In the rear, you get Toyota Supra badging and your rear lights back here. You also get a little spoiler wing. Down below that, you do get your exhaust. That is a single muffler system, but it does have dual tips. Sounds pretty good. And on the other side, it is just about the same. I think the exterior looks really good. It looks sporty and aggressive, yet still just, you know, conservative enough. It looks mean. It looks short and wide, and I think it looks very good. And let's hop inside. So on the interior, for the door panel, it is slightly soft touch materials in most of this, actually. So it's padded with probably some fake leather, but yeah, it's padded through here. It has some nice, a nice velour type of finish in here. And you do get your power locks right here. You do get power windows in here with an auto driver window, which is very interesting. And also you get window locks all around. So, of course, that's only 2 windows in this case, but that's pretty cool to have. Here's your door handle, so you actually pull up on this plastic like so. And then over next to that, you do get a speaker with something called live sound. So that was the speaker system in this car. This is actually a 4-seat roadster, although the 2 back seats are basically unusable. They're too small for anyone to comfortably sit back there. As you can see, it's only that much room. But for the driver's seat, it's actually a power seat for forward and reverse, as well as adjusting the whole bottom section of the seat. It is manual adjustments for the rest. And it has a velour blue velvet type of finish. Has some very nice side bolsters and pretty good thigh bolstering. Hopping truly inside, to the left of your wheel, you get a couple of controls right there, such as your lights, your cruise control, and your rear defrost. You also get a sub-base level control. For your gauges in here, they are of course going to be all analog. So you see your mileage, 179,000 on this car. Temp gauge, you get your RPMs, and your speed right there. You also do get your fuel gauge, and it does have sensors for whether doors are opened. For your mirror, it is just going to be typical. It is going to be a dimming mirror, and you can control it manually. No sunroof in here. For your visor up here in the driver, you do get a vanity mirror, so that is interesting, and it is lighted, which is very nice. And for the passenger, you also get a lighted vanity mirror. You do get some interior lights right here, dome lights, and you push the buttons. Those are turned off currently. Unfortunately, these do not work, but that is okay. In the center here, you actually do get your digital clock, and you get climate controls. You have air conditioning in here with automatic climate control, which is very interesting. It's a single zone setup, but I'm really surprised they had automatic climate control in this day and age. They still don't in certain brand new cars, so that's surprising to me. Here is your shifter. It has some pretty long throws to it. For this day and age, it is very, very long, but yeah, it's pretty nice. It's a very tall shifter, so it's very easy to manage. You get your e-brake here, of course, and then in the center, you do get lumbar controls for your seats, for the driver's seat, and that is powered right there. And in the center here, you push to open, you get a little storage cubby, another little one there. And if you open the center console, it has a decent bit of storage. It's padded on top, so that's nice. Typically that would pop down, and of course you would have storage in there. You have a very large climate vent area here. All this is fake, but over here is a real vent, so it's a nice little design cue right there. For the dash, it actually has some relatively soft touch materials, which is cool. And it has some accent stitching. Although it is still colored black, it looks okay. For your steering wheel, you get a rubberized one with no airbag in here. But no bolsters either, but it's a pretty sporty steering wheel. It's a bit large, I feel like, for this car. I like it. And in the rear back there, you have decent visibility throughout here because it really is a moderately boxy design. And for the back seats, unfortunately, they are just unusable for anyone larger than a small kid, but they do have a little armrest back here and the continuation of the interior design. That'll just about do it for this Supra. Thank you to Newport Speed Shop and Soda Motors in Newport, Rhode Island for allowing me to review this. Thank you for watching, and take care.